Hello everyone, we are in Normals MTB. Normals MTB is Vivus.lv marathon in Latvia. I'm going to participate in full marathon, 51-kilometer distance with almost 1k of elevation. This course is not really new for me. Last year I've been participating in double stage race here in Talsi. It was very terrible conditions and I just wanted to experience how this course looks like when it's dry. Surprisingly, it was completely dry this year and we are off to the first sprint of the uphill. So it's Karmpakalns hill, where is during the winter it's probably skiing resort here. And you can see that it was really tough climb in the beginning. And because last year I've been here as well, I added some comparisons of first uphill sprint, so you can see that this year I made it 20 seconds faster. It says actually not too much, but at the same time, well, maybe I'm improving a bit, but because conditions were very different, it's like comparing something which can be compared. But at the same time, it's nice to have some reference for the past and in order to compare what and how we are doing this year. So in the beginning, it was really tough climb because I was in the second gate and started in like 80th position or so. So on the climb I tried to overtake as much as possible, but then in the double track in the forest, the front group got away. While doing the best I can, I tried and managed to get closer to them. I was not too much confident in comparison to other Latvians who knows this course pretty well. So there were a few jumps. Kaspars Garda before the start of the race warned me that it might be a bit technical in the beginning and also at the end of the lap, because they are kind of crosses at some part of the race. So I was a bit careful, and at the same time I knew that we are going to approach this yet another climb, which also probably is a skiing resort part. And from the camera you won't see the steepness, but then you are at the starting line and you see that hill on the right, it's like almost Alps, almost. So yeah, leaving Alps aside, on this climb I kind of rested a bit after those guys, if we can call the rest, the 500 watts from the legs, but they kind of got away from me and I was not able to continue on their pace. If one exclamation mark meant some sort of drop, what two exclamation marks means? Well, actually it was similar like drop, but maybe it was without any chicken line. I was not able to spot it, but anyways, it wasn't too bad or too dangerous to do so. And we are approaching the climb where surprisingly guys are not yet got away, but they are pushing. The experience in Talsi during the dry conditions versus wet and rainy as it was last year was like day and night, completely different thing. As always, there are some segments information, and this one was specifically fun. I remember it from last year. It's called pump track, if we can call it in this way, because you can't go this without completely no pedaling at all. On the right there was a nice view of Curie, and we went on those bumps and pumps. So after 20 minutes into the race, finally I was able to take a sip of water. Here we're approaching yet another area where it's up and down, yet this time there are a lot bigger ups and downs. What's different in the Vivus marathons is that they are very much into single tracks, so it's a bit different from comparison to what's in Lithuania, for example. And because it's marathon, you would expect that, well, maybe there will be a lot more areas to kind of put your watts into pedals and not require a lot of technical skills. But the Vivus, it's different, and you can see that sometimes it's also about handling and making sure you stay on the bike on technical climbs. In comparison to last year's participation in Vivus events, I've been a bit stronger this year, so that means the guys around were different. That means I had zero understanding who they are and how strong they go. Well, except few participants which I knew from other races. So with that in mind, you don't necessarily know who you should ride with to, or who you should overtake when the time comes. And even the strong guys are not always able to climb. So you will see here an example how a wheel slipped, or maybe even he just refused to go on his own here, and we had to all pack coming from his back go off the bikes and push the bike through. I remember this moment pretty well, because I'm like watched at the clock on the Garmin, and it was 44 minutes. Then finally there was a bit longer flat where you can maybe drink and eat more properly than just in single tracks. But Kostas Kardelis from Lithuania had a different opinion, and he just pushed in front. So we had to carry along with him. I set Kostas to jump inside, and we are coasting down on this gravel road, which actually in this race was exception rather than the rule. I mean, gravel roads were minor in terms of quantity during the race distance. And whenever you see that it's rolling really nicely, like we are here going down 30 kilometers per hour, well, believe me, it was really bumpy. Kostas here lost the shifting and he had to stop. And whenever there was service points, I always tried to sip some water, simply because it was a pretty hot day. And I had 2 bottles, but in 2 hours plus, considering that I have to consume gels and drink on top, it's like you have to take all those available liquids. What I really like about MTB marathons in Latvia is that it seems they take pride of what they do, and that means, yeah, sometimes it can be this type of roads, but they are just drivable, and that's kind of it. But you can see that whenever we go into the meadow and the grass sections, they are all cut down, so there are no guesses what's in the grass, etc. So they do a really great job in preparing the courses in a sense where just it's tidy up and you have to just suffer because of a bumpiness, but not because of unprepared tracks. So that's very good thing. Middle of the race, and here was a funny situation where Oscar Saulitis tried to go into the group, but then he decided, or maybe I made him to decide to go on the side, and he just went into that water because he had no other option. So normally on those type of single tracks I try to keep the distance, and that's the reason why I try to keep the distance. If something goes incorrectly, wrong, etc. for our participant, you have some room to make our direction choices, but then you are just 10 centimeters from the wheel. It's impossible to make that counter turn from stoppage. And the same applied here, where someone went from the back of me and I just lost the chain from the rear cassette, so basically just dropped into inside. I haven't noticed that it also went off from the chainring, so that means when I put it on, I lost few seconds yet again, and it was 30 seconds stoppage time, and the group got disappeared. When I got on the bike, I decided that I should try to catch them, and surprisingly that was exactly the area where sprint stage calm of the race started, so it was timed measured gap in the course. I decided that it's a lot more beneficial to go fast here, because one way or another you are trying to close the gap, and at the same time it's just another way to push yourself through in order to make a better time in this time measured distance. So win-win, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. So more or less from 250 participants, I managed to take 10th time, surprise, surprise. And that helped me to at least see our opponents in the distance. That was really strong effort during that 1 kilometer or so range.
Over the left.
Then there was a gravel road. If there was a group in front, I didn't push too much. Then trying to catch the group, simply because they are moving faster anyways, and closing that gap is not feasible. But here I decided that in front there is one guy, and I added just more than enough to try to go as fast as possible on this gravel section. It was a bit of an uphill, but actually my strengths went out really fast, and here was a discussion with Sandis Rinkis.
Sorry, I didn't understand what you said. Ah, thanks. Just trying to close the gap, no matter what.
It was a funny one, but you can see that it was a success and we managed to catch those guys. But here I believe that the guy from Sigulda team, Oskar Saulitis, kind of cut the corner and we followed him, so maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. But if anything, we didn't saw that, and we are approaching the group really fast. And probably if we were not pushing on that gravel road, it have been impossible to reach those guys. So as you can see in the second part, we were a bit more gravel roads. But that doesn't mean that helped too much, because as soon as we got off them, there was like this type of climbs, which was really painful and hard. Just because it's fast rolling here, it doesn't mean that it's smooth. So there were some places where you just bump around. Here you had a glimpse of how the course looks like in 2022, and I will add few more of those during this video. Simply said, it was completely impossible to climb on those steep, sharp climbs when it was wet, because it's kind of soil which is very slippery, and yeah. Sandis went ahead and he said go, 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 but there's not too much left for me to go, 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 and it's still 5 kilometers to the finish line. And eventually he got away. I remember that part from 2022, and it was technical one, but at the same time from 2022 you can see that we've been pushing the bikes quite significantly on those climbs. Yet for some, even on the dry, it was not so easy to go. But yeah, just a note, it's always possible to go off the bike and push it than do it like this way. So even though there was quite a huge gap already from the front, somehow they were still not too far away, and we are approaching few jumps, and finally it will be the climb awaiting for us. And this place I remember really well, because on the second day in 2022 it was terrible feeling already. I was completely exhausted, and then even the chain dropped like few hundred meters from the finish, and you can see that I've been really slow there. But thankfully it's not the case this year in both ways. I still have something left in the legs, as well as it's dry, so win-win yet again. At the bottom of the hill, I kind of expected that I might even be able to close the gap from the front guys, but you can see that they were pushing really hard as well, and it was not feasible this time around. However, it was still a pretty strong effort on the climb, and the cramps were there as well, but this time I didn't give up that easily because it was not so pronounced. And the results, I was 29th out of 130 in total, and then 13th out of 46 in my age group. So it was a bit better performance than last year. And I will leave you with this conversation with Sandis.
You see, I dropped the chain, and then like lost 20 seconds or so, and all the remaining time I tried to catch.
Okay.
And I'm like, was not too positive about my chances, but on the climbs I noticed that I'm getting closer.
Yeah. And on the stretch as well.
Yeah, and then you asked why I'm pushing on the straight, just to try to close the gap.
You see how it took us like half a kilometer in the forest.
Yeah, but who knows, if we won't push on the straight, maybe we won't be able to catch in the forest either.
Anyway, it's impossible to win. So what's the difference?
The difference is
1/3 or 25th.
yeah, but knowing that you gave everything you got, everything you have, is just like
not in this race.
it's probably personal preference.
As you can see now, the bike is without the fork. It's kind of separated into pieces yet again. Whether I don't have what to do or whether it was needed, you can guess in the comments, but basically it's kind of rebuilt in the middle of the season, because if you take a look at the full onboard, there were some sounds from suspension and I already knew it, and the fork is already overdue for the full service, so that's how you do it when you do it in your home place. That said, we will meet in XCO Champ in Lithuania, and also I might have some other news for you by the time comes, so keep in touch and we will meet there. So thanks a lot for the time, and I hope to see you around.